Hello, it's Chanel. Today I'm doing Virgo season. So once again, these is just a Western astrology's dates. Virgo season is from August the 23rd to September the 22nd. The planet is Mercury, which means that Virgos tend to be excellent communicators and generally have a quick wit. It is a mutable sign, which means that they can be adaptable and are comfortable with change. They are an earth sign, so they are quite grounded, have a connection to nature, and can be quite practical. The symbol is the Virgin, and in this case, it's to symbolize patience and honor. The colors for Virgo, think very muted, earthy tones, especially those that are in the greens and browns. Some of the archetypes for Virgo are the Maiden, the Hermit, and the Healer. And speaking of the Hermit, their tarot card is the Hermit, which means they can sometimes be a bit solitary, but they are also wise. Virgo is ruled by the 6th house, so that is the house of health and routines, your schedule, your habits. It is basically caring for your well-being, psychological, emotional, and physical. Some famous Virgos are Beyonce, Salma Hayek, Zendaya, Idris Elba, Keanu Reeves, and Tom Hardy. A song for Virgo is Overwhelmed by Ashley Price, but I've also got to give a shout out to Virgo's Groove by Beyonce. So let's get into the deck. So one deck that I think could epitomize Virgos is the Houseplant Tarot by Minerva Siegel and Andrea Campos. So this is a mass market deck that revolves around houseplants. I feel like Virgos absolutely love plants in their house. Virgos love their home, they love aesthetics, they also love nature, so it makes sense to me that they would have a plethora of houseplants in their space. Houseplants also filter the air, and Virgos are all about that health, so they would love to have cleaner air. It's also very calming to see nature inside your house, the greenness. They're good at taking care of things. They're very diligent, so I think that they would really learn how each plant needs to be taken care of and adjust accordingly. So that's why I picked the Houseplant Tarot as my first choice. Okay, for my next choice, I've chosen the Loaf Tarot. So this is an indie deck. As you can see, that is the inside. Comes with a little flip book. These are the backs, so they have beautiful silver holographic foiling. They've got silver edging. And I've picked this one because I also believe that Virgos are animal lovers too. So this deck kind of combines plants and animals together, and it's very sweet and it's got a very kind energy, and I feel like Virgos are kind. Like I said, they're the healers and the helpers, and they care for other people, but they also care for other beings, especially those that are smaller than them, like animals. They're wonderful caretakers and also excellent nurturers. So I feel like this speaks, to their animal loving heart. It's very cute, it's colorful, it's very sweet, it's very sort of kawaii and a little bit playful. So this was the Loaf Tarot. Here we go with the next choice. I feel like Virgos also like grays. They're like neutrals, I feel, in terms of colors, just very mild and calming. So here we have the Epi Tarot. Oh, look, it's even got a card that's been retitled The Healer. So yeah, this is the Epi Tarot. It's an indie deck. Those are the backs. It's rings of a tree, which I think is very apt for Virgo. I've picked this deck because, I don't know why that card's upside down. It's got a very aesthetic look. I think Virgos love aesthetics, man. They really care about color scheme. I feel like too, they really do like clean lines, and this has a very clean quality to it, a very clean look. It's a very simple color palette, so you basically just got grays, golds, and whites. So it's very simple in its imagery, but it's still beautiful This is a more complex deck in terms of how it's written up. It's very meaty and interesting. It's got historical aspects to it, and it's a bit analytical, and I think Virgos are very analytical. There's also a sort of maturity to this deck, and I feel like Virgos in general are quite mature, even as children. They've got that kind of meticulous nature. I just think this is a very clever deck too. There's an intelligence to this deck, and I think Virgos are also really great too at being students and workers. Like, they're very diligent in that way. They like to learn. I think with Mercury being one of the ruling planets, it's that sort of, thirst for knowledge and application and attention to detail. And this has amazing attention to detail. Like, all of the backgrounds of this deck have specific meaning. So this was the Epi Tarot. Okay, next up, in one of my favorite bags. I just really like this bag and button combo. This was Crunch Stitch. Super cute. I have the Alchemist Garden Tarot. So this is an indie deck. As you can see, it's got, once again, a simple color scheme. This has a bit more sort of an academic vibe, and I feel like Virgos can sometimes be into the academia aesthetic. It is a plant deck. Like I said, I feel like Virgos with their earth quality are big nature lovers, and this is an excellent one. This one is also called the Alchemist Garden, and I feel like Virgos have that kind of alchemy skill set to them as well. But this one is, once again, something they can sink their teeth into. The selection of plants that they've associated with each suit, each card, has been very well thought out. It's quite methodical in that aspect. There's like a methodical energy to it. It feels like a botanist's journal too, in a way. And I feel like Virgos are book lovers. They like to read, and this is an absolute, the guidebook is a pleasure to read. It's written up so beautifully, and you also learn so much. But it definitely also ignites that curiosity of, okay, why have they chosen Sananga for Trunk of Wands with the keyword ambition? Why have they chosen Reishi for the Ten of Pentacles and investment? And you get to satiate that curiosity. So this is the Alchemist's Garden. Okay, so the last choice for tarot is, I'm just calling this the Shimel Tarot. It's by Shimel Ti. So these are the backs. Very soft, muted greys and pinks with birds and feathers. Obviously I edged mine. This deck I've chosen mostly for the color palette and the style. It has a very gentle energy to it, very calm and peaceful and grounded, despite this sort of fairy tale like imagery. It has that, once again, that sort of quiet nature to it. There's even what I would consider a shyness, and I think sometimes Virgos can be a little shy, perhaps a bit introverted, more of the wallflowers of a party that they've probably been dragged to against their will by a friend. But yeah, there's a bit of a introspective sort of quality to this deck. And like I said, it's mostly the color palette, the very gentle, soothing, calming color palette. So this was the Shimel Ti Tarot. Okay, and now we're going on to oracle decks. So in here I have an indie deck. This is the Guiding Elements Ayurvedic Path Oracle deck. These are the backs. Look at that. You've got hands in the soil from which plants are blooming. I've picked this one mostly to do with the fact that Virgo is in the 6th house, which is the house of health and habits or routines, well-being. And this is a card that is all to do with Ayurveda, which is a holistic health and wellness practice. And it's one that I personally also follow. I find it's a very grounding, almost like earthy practice. My personal doshas are Vata, body, Pitta, mind. So I normally generally follow the Vata recommendations. So you can get like you can base a full routine, dietary, exercise, habitual practice based off whatever your dosha is. And I think Virgos would absolutely love that as fans of not just health and wellness, but organization and schedules and routines and research. I think finding holistic practices that they resonate with and then structuring their lives around it very much appeal to them, and this is a deck that you can also use for that very purpose. I also think it's got a very muted color scheme and a really sort of like pleasing artistic style. But yeah, it's a deck that helps you with your health, and it is the Guiding Elements Ayurvedic Path. Okay, so next up we have this deck, which is the, I always forget what it's called, Radiant Crystal Cards. So this is an indie deck. It has beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous lilac edging, and it's on a very lush rose petal, so it's a beautiful sensory experience as well. And on this one, the information is all on the back, so it's all of the knowledge is right at your fingertips. I've picked this one because I think the use of white space really appeals to Virgos. I think it helps with that feeling of, once again, like that cleanliness, that neat and tidy, that room to sort of breathe vibe. It is based on crystals which come from the earth. It also goes into the chakra, the astrological. There's an affirmation, there are plant associations, so I think it would appeal to many different interests of Virgos. It's also, I think it's quite beautiful. It's quite aesthetic. I like that word, the aesthetics, man. I think that's like the main thing. I don't think Virgos do well with things that don't appeal to their aesthetic. But I also find this just to be quite a reliable deck. Like I said, if you don't have access to the actual physical gemstones, you can use this in its stead. So it's got that versatility and that usability to it. And it is the Radiant Crystal Oracle. Okay, next up in this bag, we have the Green Witch Oracle, which is a mass market deck. And I've picked it because I believe that Virgos are green witches. I think that they would do very well with that kind of witchery. So this book has the plants on there. It's also got magical correspondences, deity, celestial, astrological, how you would use it, and a spell, but it also tells you how to plant and take care of the plant. So for all those green thumb Virgos, it's fantastic. And especially for all those Virgo witches, it's also fantastic. It's got a very simple design. It's very homogeneous all the way through. I think it's a very helpful deck for those maybe wanting to dip their toes into green witchery. So once again, like that sort of helpful nature of the Virgos is there. But this was the Green Witch Oracle. Okay, and in this little green flower bag, we have the Woodland Wardens Oracle. So this is a mass market deck. I think the backs personally are gorgeous. They've got those woodsy kind of vibes, the cottagecore vibes, which I think maybe a lot of Virgos are into as well, that cottagecore aesthetic. But this is, yeah, an animal deck. It's also an animal/plant deck. So you get the animal and the plant. And like I said, two great loves of Virgos. I think it is really well done. It does have a very practical kind of energy to it, a very logical, grounded energy, despite the very fanciful kind of illustrations, which I think are beautiful. I love the aesthetic of this deck and the color scheme. Like I said, it's very calming because it's a softer, more muted palette. There's also a sort of elegance to it. You could also use it in a more intuitive way because there is only like one keyword on there. If you have your own associations with, say, dragonflies and pansies, you can just, use your own intuition. I think Virgos are very in tune with their intuition, despite also having a rather sort of logical and analytical mind. I think that they're able to sort of oscillate between the two. So this was the Woodland Wardens. Okay, and last but not least in here, we have the Sacred Creators Oracle, which is a mass market deck that has essential meanings, a self-care message, a larger expanded message, and then journal prompts. So these are the backs, very clean and simple and concise. I've edged mine. It's on a lovely matte cardstock for like a mass market deck. I think the cardstock's lovely. And like I said, once again, it's very simple and direct and to the point. It has an expression here on the front. It's got a lovely color palette. I think this a deck like this is important. It is quite nurturing in terms of its messaging and supportive. And like I said, the self-care message element is there because I think Virgos sometimes can succumb to sort of the more mental maladies like anxiety and worry and being overly self-critical. And so I think a deck like this helps to calm you. It helps to maybe break whatever mental pattern you're currently going through, to give you some words of kindness and love and peace in a way, you know, to sort of get you out of your head a little bit. I think it's written up really, really well. Like I said, if you don't want to read the other messages, you could just take the message that you see here. But I think this is one of those decks where it's really worth reading the guidebook for. It's very helpful. And I think sometimes too, with Virgos and their tendency to be perfectionists as well, like it helps to have something that they can really just sit and read. Like, once again, just diverting their attention from their internal landscape to something outside of themselves. Hello, Sylvie. But I think, yeah, a deck like this can also help to bring some clarity to any worries or stresses that they might currently be experiencing. But I'm going to pull a card for Virgo season and end the video there. So I've decided to pull a message from the Sacred Creators Oracle, and we got the edge of evolution feels messy. And I had to laugh, especially for a sign that really likes orderliness and cleanliness and organization and everything neat and tidy and exactly as they want it. This can be a bit much, but let's have a reading of the message. Essential meanings: evolution of the soul, rapid change, growth and a plethora of new opportunities, surrendering to uncertainty. Self-care message: a need to trust, not being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, accepting new teachings and the wonderful unknown, giving yourself permission to fail in order to grow. The edge of change is a veritable cornucopia of opportunity. When you think of life as a giant, ever-expanding puzzle, you will see that growth begins at the edges, and that most of the excitement happens just beyond the boundaries of what you can perceive, and it happens just beyond the edges of your comfort zone. As things shift and germinate around you, you may notice how uncertain it feels beyond the known. It's time to bring yourself to your personal growth edge, to look into that abyss of creation. Poke your toe into the open space that lies beyond, and the right opportunity will, as if by magic, move into your awareness. This magical, changing expanse is surging with the building blocks of all creation. This is where source energy is working on your behalf, bringing you the opportunities you have asked for. Everything and anything is possible during this time of rapid transformation. And as you stand at the precipice of your beautiful evolution, know that this energy is organic and malleable. Begin directing the landscapes of your reality that are coming into form. Are you giving yourself permission to try new things and to, quite possibly, fail a few times in order to find out what works? Do you rejoice in the unknown, partake in the adventure of your own evolution? Why not? Or how? What areas of your life are you actively evolving? And what puzzle pieces are you calling in to work with? If you could choose, what would be the next big piece to arrive? I might also pull a ayurvedic practice card, like I said, since it's the season of health and routine. Let's pull an ayurvedic card as well. Okay, so we have stoke the fire. Okay, so this says, many of us tend to crave ice-cold drinks, which we associate with hydration and quenching our thirst. Our internal environment is a warm one rather than cold. By consuming cold drinks, the body's internal temperature is disrupted. Try drinking a warm or room temperature beverage with your meal instead. The digestive fire sets a warm internal atmosphere which helps us break down our foods. Ingesting cold beverages shocks the system and dampens the fire, weakening its ability to burn and transform what you've put into your body. Warm liquids are soothing and keep the peace in our systems. You may find you will start to crave warm water instead of cold, especially in winter. Cooling beverages reduce the impact, taste, and smell, and who wants that during their meal? Imagine your digestion as fire. Food is the wood that feeds the fire. If there's too much, the fire cannot burn properly. If there is too little, the fire will go out. This fire can be stoked through warm foods and beverages along with healing spices. It can be dampened by cool foods and beverages along with cooling spices. You can tell the level of your Agni, digestive fire, by your digestive symptoms. High Agni is strong appetite, acid reflux or diarrhea. Low Agni is low appetite, sluggishness and mucus. Variable Agni is irregular appetite, bloating, gas, and alternate elimination patterns. And a balanced Agni means a stable appetite and smooth and easy elimination. So maybe put that into practice if you wish, guys. But this was the Virgo season decks video. Until next time, stay wild, star child.